I watch a lot of soccer for decades, ever since I was a little kid. But I had to learn how to analyze soccer as an adult, long after I started coaching soccer. In fact, I learned how to do proper analysis once I started assisting a head coach as an analyst or a scout. I will show you a simple framework you can use to analyze any soccer game as a coach, a player, or just someone who wants to understand what actually is happening on the field. We'll cover three things. First, how to identify formations properly and why teams don't just have one. Second, why formation is not the same as strategy or tactics and why they are more important than formation. And third, how our biases trick us and how to support the eye test with statistics. When people talk about formations, they usually mean that they saw on the lineup graphics 4-3-3, 3-4-3, 5-3-2. Even before the first kickoff, you can often see the general formation, but it takes time, a little bit of time for the team to really show their formation while they play. Let me explain. The teams these days often have at least two different formations, one for attacking and one for defending. For example, they can be attacking as a WM formation or 3-2-2-3, but defending in a 4-4-2 formation. Or maybe they're attacking a 3-4-3, but defending in a 5-3-2. This is common because the team needs to find ways to adjust to the opponents as well as the quality of their own players. Oftentimes, teams even have multiple formations depending on the phase of play. For example, a team can build out from the back in a 4-3-3 formation with a single pivot, but then on the opponent's half, they change into a 3-2-5 formation, attacking with the two central midfielders helping out. One of the fullbacks push up on the wing, or maybe they invert as a midfielder. Or maybe in high press, the team defends as a 4-4-2, but if the team pushes back on them to defend in a low block for a cross, then they drop the tall midfielder in the backline and they change to a 5-3-2 formation. Then if the team tries to counterattack, then there often isn't a formation in mind, and it's just a matter of exploiting space and trying to create the chances as soon as possible. This is also the case if the team is recovering from a counterattack and just trying to slow down the opponent so they can regroup. But let's say you figure out the formation out in the first 10 to 15 minutes, both in attacking and defending, and the phases of play. That doesn't mean that they will stay like that for the rest of the game. You still need to monitor this. Sometimes the two wingers might flip, but the formation stays the same. But other times, maybe the team switches from a 4-3-3 to a 4-2-3-1 because they struggled with playing from the back and needed more stability in the center of the field. Sometimes you have to watch the coach in case they give instructions, but a small change like this can make a big difference in how the formation looks and also how the team plays. So be alert for changes like this. Formation is not strategy or tactics. This is one of the most common mistakes in soccer analysis. People say things like, oh, they played 4-3-3, so they're attacking. Or they switched to back five, so they just parked the bus. That's not how it works. And also, it doesn't actually give you valuable information to act on. A team can play 4-3-3 and just park the bus, or play 5-3-2 and try to dominate possession and attack. Formation, strategy, and tactics are three different things. Formation is the base structure. It's where players are generally positioned. It's the starting point. Formation answers just one question. Where are the players? That's it. Strategy is the big idea. It's what the team is trying to achieve. Are they trying to dominate possession? Are they trying to counter quickly? Are they trying to protect the center and force wide play? Two teams can have exactly same formation with completely two different strategies. And then comes the tactics. Tactics are specific methods used to execute the strategy. The tactics depend on situation, the area of the field, the behavior of the opponent, and the ability of players involved. We can have the same formation and the same strategy, but given our players and the opposition players and how they play, we can have completely different tactics for a given situation. Let me show you with an example. Let's say the team is playing 4-3-3 formation. The strategy is to play possession-based soccer and use the creative and technically dominant players to create chances. But here comes the tactics. When playing from the back, the objective is to play safe and move the ball safely until they can get the ball to the two more attacking midfielders. They can have freedom to attack in the final third. However, if the team is highly pressed by the opponent. The goalkeeper and the defenders will try to find the front three, often in space behind the defensive line, completely different from what our strategy initially was. And one more point on this. The formation, the strategy, and the tactics don't have to be symmetrical. For example, on the left side, we might be having a winger that is technical and likes to cut in, while on the right side, we have a winger that relies on speed and crosses. We can have one fullback that inverts to the center of the field, while the other one does overlapping runs. Even on defense, we might be marking somebody tightly on the left because the winger delivers dangerous crosses. But on the right side, we drop back and make sure that the winger doesn't dribble and shoot because that's the most dangerous thing by them. And you might ask yourself, why do we need to know this information? The strategy and the tactics. If you know the formation of the other team, maybe you need to adjust something. For example, if the other team is attacking with 3 attackers, maybe you will want to defend with 4 defenders, having numerical advantage. But if they're attacking with only 2, then you would not keep the 4 players on defense and be heavily outnumbered in other areas of the field. But if you know something about the tactics, you can give the individual advice to the players. For example, if a striker is slow and never makes a run forward, then the defender should mark them very tightly and not give them space. And if a fullback is making overlapping runs regularly, remind the team to track them before they receive the ball in a dangerous area without a defender on them. But the true change in how you approach the game will happen on the strategy front. Let's say you want to play from the back as a possession-based soccer team. However, the opponents are throwing all the players forward to press. They press so much that only 2 of the defenders are left against your 3 attackers. Well, the strategy that you're using should change into long passes where you have excellent opportunities to create a shot on goal. You shouldn't care that you're not playing possession at that point. Go ahead and score a goal. And after that, the opponent might come to their senses and drop some of the players back. So then you can go and try playing possession soccer again. You have to adjust your strategy to what actually makes sense at that moment. Okay, but how do you actually figure out these 3 aspects? The formation, the strategy, and the tactics. If it's a high-profile game, then get the stats. The heat maps can suggest the formation of the team. The numbers of attempted crosses or attempted long balls can suggest how the team attacks. Or the attempted runs forward by the striker shows that they're looking for a ball in space and not dropping deep as a false 9. So statistics can be useful, but it's all about your ability to interpret them. For example, a possession of 75% doesn't mean the team is dominating the game. There might be passing between the 2 center backs on their own half, while the other team is just sitting back and low block. If that goes for half of the time, then you can get 75% possession easily. What you really need at that point is an eye test. Do you understand the intention and the plan? A team that keeps attempting long balls might have that as a game plan, but also the defenders might be under pressure and they just kick the ball forward in the general area of the striker. It is up to you to figure out if something is proactive or reactive. Then go to the statistics and check on the dashboard if there's evidence to prove your claim. You're basically a scientist. You have a hypothesis and then you look for proof for the hypothesis. But then also check if there's disconfirming evidence. For example, you notice 2 crosses from the left in the game that created good chances for the opponent. So now you think that the game plan from the opponents was to do the crosses on the left all along. However, you check the statistics and while there are 2 successful chances from the left, there are 9 unsuccessful attacks from the right. The opponent wanted to attack from there, but they couldn't because they were inferior, or their tactic was wrong, or the player was wrong. So while you find statistics to support your claim, also look for statistics in the opposite direction to see if you have a bias. You like a certain player, you dislike another one. You like when a player looks aggressive and gives everything for the team, even when they lose their duels. You dislike when a player looks uninterested, even when they score nearly every chance. Everybody has bias and it's what makes us human. Statistics, colleagues, and deep thinking are what can help us understand the bias, acknowledge it, and also makes us a better analyst. So the next time you watch a match, pause and ask yourself, what is the defensive formation? What is the attacking structure? What is the team strategy? And what tactics support that strategy? And where might my bias be influencing what I notice? Do this consistently, and you stop watching soccer like a fan reacting to moments. You start seeing the game underneath the game. That's analysis. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next one.